Whatever. Good morning, I'm Peter Knox.
Yes.
I'm a Jesuit from South Africa. I'm Dean of Theology here at JCAM. I'm also the Deputy Principal for Academic Affairs. I was delighted on Wednesday to see the release of the Universal Apostolic Preferences. Because, why I say delighted, it's been the work of 2.5 years or more of the Society. Since Father Sosa was elected at GC 36, Father Sosa has encouraged us to look at what our priorities or preferences may be for the next 10 years. And there's been a very wide consultation among the Jesuits around the world. Here at JCAM, we got very involved in that consultation process. We were requested to submit to JCAM to submit our ideas and proposals and what we think are preferences and priorities for our apostolic work for the next 10 years. And I think everyone's happy to see the fruit of our work.
When you talk about the Universal Apostolic Preferences, a layperson might ask, what are these really? Given that the Jesuits work amidst collaborators and also communities around the institutions within which they're situated, what would you tell somebody who's inquisitive on this particular process?
On the process, we can just say the process was one of consultation around the world. I think on the fruits of the process, I think lay people and our co-workers would be interested to know that there's not going to be a major departure, because a lot of the universal preferences, in fact, three of the four are things that the Society has been doing for hundreds of years already. We're just kind of reframing them or reshaping them or re-emphasizing, for example, the spiritual exercises, helping people to find their way to God, helping people to discern, not just Jesuits, not just religious, but really bringing St. Ignatius's exercises now to the world and helping people to find what God is saying and how God is speaking in the world, in Africa, in our various countries, some of which are a mess, others are emerging democracies, emerging economies and things like that. So what is God saying within those African countries? And the second one is third one is working with youth. Let's look at working with youth. Since the foundation of the Society, we've been dealing with schools, we've been dealing with young people, we've had very, very formal youth-related work. We've had also very informal youth-related work in our parishes, in our youth groups, in the Majis projects. And the new emphasis is that we want to do something that gives youth hope, give young people hope when there's so many signs, so many causes for despair around us, political messes in many of our countries, the clash of civilizations or the clash of religions. When we see global warming and global climate change, we may think that this is going to be a big, big disaster facing the youth of the future. Sustainability, many people are not living sustainable lifestyles, and that's just making the world much, much more difficult for the youth of the future to be able to live comfortably. Taking ourselves to the fourth priority is care for our common home, and that requires a change in lifestyle. It requires that we use much, much less of the earth's resources, that much more will remain for the youth of the future. We have to be very aware of our global footprint in terms of carbon, in terms of global heating, in terms of how we drive, what we travel, the choices we make in our day-to-day food, our leaving the lights on at night, all these things that we do that are related to our lifestyle, the technology we consume, the technology we dispose of, how rapidly we dispose of things. Pope Francis was very wise when he spoke of the throwaway culture, that we just dispose of things. And the throwaway culture is just creating a great big dump, and the earth is turning into a big dump. And I think Pope Francis was very, very appreciative that the Society is identifying care for our common home as one of the four major preferences that we want to focus on in these coming 10 years. Of course, we're responding to Pope Francis is speaking to us at GC 36. He mentioned Laudato Si, he mentioned care for the environment, and I'm sure he's quite happy in his letter of approval and his letter of missioning, because that's what he sent us at the end of the process. Father Sosa submitted to Pope Francis. He submitted these priorities, these preferences. Pope Francis wrote to us on the 6th of February saying, I approve of these and I'm giving you the mission to go ahead with them. And obviously care for the environment has been one of the pillars of the papacy so far. And that brings us, I think, to the final preference, which is option for the poor, walking with the marginalized and people who are on the edges of society. More and more, the society is identifying not just the poor in terms of economy, not just the poor in terms of education or lack of opportunities, but people who've deliberately been moved aside and who've been estranged from the center of the societies in which they live. And care for our environment also is an investment in care for the lives in which the poorest people live, those who are living in agricultural economies, those who are depending on the earth for their sustenance. I think that's really important. And I'll just finish off by saying, and I mean I'll finish off this time, I'll finish off by saying that as we change our lifestyles, that gives young people hope. That's the second part of that third preference, that we don't just walk with young people, but we give them hope for the future. And we really have to live in ways that young people can say, these people are serious about the future. Hope isn't just some pipe dream. Hope isn't just some wishful thinking or wish fulfillment. Hope is really based on concrete activity that we're doing in the present. Hope isn't just something that we hope is going to happen or we wish will happen. It's based on real concrete activity now. End of diatribe.
Thank you so much, Father Peter. Absolutely wonderful to get or to rather catch up on this, because it's something that's very important. And looking ahead actually of the Formation Assembly in December. So it forms a foundation for that as well.
It's true.
Yes. So thank you very much.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for your time.